Welcome to this edition of CareerCast from Personal Career Management. Now, this is going to be our last one of this series. So we've done a whole box set for you, and I'm sure we will be back, perhaps in a different form. But what we thought we'd do for this last edition is just, we've had some really great comments from people actually who've said that they found the sessions really useful, and they've sent us some questions. So it's a bit like a post bag edition that we've got today, or an email box edition. So what we thought we'd do is to kind of round off this series is to kind of look at some of the questions that people have sent in. And to help me, I have my panel from our career management coaches, and welcome to Adrian Marsh, Jane Garrard, Joe Thurman and Colin Lloyd. Welcome to you.
Morning.
Good. So, well, let's start off with our first question. So, right, so this is a real horrible situation that people are facing at the moment, because we know that a lot of people are being made redundant. And I think we know from our own organisation, we've got a lot of individuals coming in and a lot of corporates asking us about outplacement as well. So this is a question about redundancy. And it says, my company is making me redundant. So I'm on consultation at the moment, but it does look like it's going to be redundancy. What shall I do? So Colin, can I come to you and ask, you know, somebody's on consultation at the moment, it's looking very likely that they're going to be made redundant. I know this is a kind of topic we've covered previously, but again, what's your advice on this?
I think going through the consultation period, it can be quite stressful. So rather than shutting down and thinking, you know, what's going to happen, it's be involved in the process, make sure that you're talking to the HR teams and know what your rights are, know what's available, and ask questions. One of the things that you can do is ask what's available to you. I mean, if your company's going beyond the statutory minimum, there might be an opportunity for you to have either an enhanced payout, or they may well offer you outplacement, which will help you get back into the jobs market quickly. So I think people hear the redundancy word and can tend to shut down and panic a little bit. My advice would be keep open, keep a conversation going with your HR team, know what you're entitled to, and just ask for more, really. They can only say no.
Yeah, and kind of talking about outplacement, because actually that's a new word for a lot of people. People think outplacement, outsourcing, what does it actually mean? Kind of, Jane, do you want to talk to us about what outplacement is?
Yeah, so outplacement is about basically helping you to make your next career move and to find your next job. So it might be about helping you to think about what jobs you want to target, what will you be going for, so to think about different options and ideas and work out which of those is right. And it's also about how to ensure when you are in the job market, you've got a really good CV that's going to get you shortlisted. You know about all the best strategies to use out there today, and you're really well prepared for your interviews. You know that you'll arrive at the interviews with good impact in the room.
How do you ask for outplacement? Joe, how would you go about it?
Well, the first thing is to ask your company if they're willing to fund it. And there's lots of different budget levels that they could support. So we have a fantastic online platform which comes as an app called iCareerCoach, which is low cost, which they might be very willing to support, right up through one-to-one career coaching programs. If they're not willing or not able to do that, there's still advantages for working with an organisation like us and self-funding, but the company can provide support which can be very tax efficient. So my suggestion is you have a look at our website, because there's some really good hints and tips on there about how to put a case to your organisation, both if they're willing to support it themselves and fund it completely, or help you fund it.
Great. Actually, that's a really good reminder, Joe. So yes, I think we've got a really useful article on negotiating your settlement agreement, which talks specifically about that. And we've got a lot of top tips on dealing with redundancy that people look at as well. So kind of going on from that next question, somebody else has written in and they've said, actually, I have been made redundant, but actually I'm secretly kind of pleased because it was quite a stressful role. but I am still anxious about what next. So they're in that kind of situation where they're quite mixed feelings, I think, about what next. Their question, and perhaps Adrian, I can come to you on this, is given that my last experience wasn't a great one, how do I make sure that my next role is going to be happier?
I'd say, yeah, have a think about what you liked about the last role. Sounds like they had mixed feelings, so there were some parts of it that they liked, things that maybe they'd like to change, and it could be worthwhile working with someone. If you're working with a coach like we provide, for example, but that's not always what people are doing. They might be there are books available. We publish career coaching books, etc. But there are ways of looking at what it is that you like about work. So we try to build up a process of career drivers. What are those factors that are important to people in their workplace? And sometimes it's good to look at that before you start thinking too much about what you're going to do next. So it might be, you love using a particular skill in your work. You find it really, get a lot of reward when you're doing something for other people. It might be about work-life balance and getting that balance right. So you want to draw up your own list of what does good look like for you. And it's a very personal list. I don't think I've ever come across any two clients that have the same list, and everybody has different priorities. Money is on that list as well somewhere. So what are your financial, requirements, if you like? And once you've got that clear in your mind, then it actually gives you a basis to be able to go and think about different options going forward and to evaluate what might suit you best.
Yeah, okay, so it's kind of really doing a bit of discovery piece about kind of what has worked,
yeah,
what is right and what's not. Jane, have you got any thoughts about this?
Yeah, I think adding to what Adrian's saying there about the idea of having a list of your criteria, when you are being interviewed, and remembering that it is a two-way process, that the organisation is checking you out. Do you meet the criteria that they have on their job specification, and likewise, do they have what you're looking for on your criteria? So remembering it's that two-way process, and I think being really confident about sharing that, as Adrian says, if you've taken some time to step back and think about what you really want, if you can share that with your potential employer at an interview, frame it along the lines of, I'm at my best when these things are in place. That will be really impressive, help you stand out at the interview, but also give your interviewer that really helpful knowledge for when you start.
So remembering it really is two-way.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very good. Well, it kind of leads us on very nicely, actually, to the next question, which I'll give to Colin, actually, given your headhunting recruitment background.
Thanks, Colin.
And they've said, I just can't get hold of recruiters and headhunters. I've tried everything. I've sent off, I've seen adverts, I've sent off lovely, kind of thoughtful covering letters, but I just cannot get to speak to anyone about some roles that really seem to fit me brilliantly.
Sure.
What's your advice? How do you get hold of them?
I think there's an important definition between headhunters and recruiters. Headhunters, I wouldn't worry about too much, because a true headhunter will find you. There's things you can do to improve the chances of that happening, making sure you're active in your marketplace, your LinkedIn profile's good, and everything else that we would do in terms of networking. But headhunters are usually working on a retained job, and they know what they're looking for, and if you fit the criteria, they will find you. Getting hold of a good recruiter is a real advantage and can help you massively in your job search. At the moment, it is quite difficult. Recruiters themselves are having a tough time being furloughed, so it might just be this moment in time that you're struggling to get hold of people. I would always revert to the telephone, try and have a conversation with somebody, and then work with recruiters that know a little bit or a lot about the industry that you want to work in. That always helps. And it's about personality as well. You want somebody who's going to act as your advocate. So if you feel that's going to happen when you're talking to the recruiter, try and get a Zoom meeting with them or a Skype meeting, and make sure that they understand what you're about and what you're looking for. A good recruiter will want to do that. But at the moment, I think if you're struggling right now, it could be because they're furloughed, it could be because they're not that busy, but persevere, use the telephone and try and have that conversation. But don't be afraid if you feel there's not that kind of chemistry, or you don't feel the individual is going to work well with you, to not necessarily register with that individual. Find someone that you feel comfortable working with, and that can work really well for you in your job search.
Thank you. And I know Jane and Joe, you've got similar backgrounds. Joe, any tips from you about kind of handling recruiters?
I'd echo what Colin's saying. It's about, because they will have lots more CVs coming at them than they necessarily need. So it's about attaching a personality and a real human being to that personality. So the phone does work. But when you do ring them, they are, how do you capture their attention? Because they will be focusing on trying to make money. So be prepared before you pick up the phone so that you're not caught out and surprised. So have something really short and punchy to say about yourself. So I'm I work in finance, I'm ACA qualified, I've been working in these sectors, I'm available immediately. If the recruiter's in the right space and that's a match, that's going to resonate and they'll carry on the conversation. If you just pick up the phone and give your name, you're just another person. So have something ready to say about yourself that will hopefully capture their attention.
Right, so it's got to be prepared, and it's got to be the hooks that are going to interest them. Anything from you, Jane?
I guess it's just that real clarity about what you want. So, what are the jobs that you're going to be targeting? Because that's what recruiters will be doing. They'll be wanting to think about what roles they're managing that you may be suitable for. And I think when you are in career change, it can feel quite important to be keeping all your options open, and the A, the B, the C routes. And even if you have A, B, and C as your possible routes, I would definitely start your conversation with a recruiter with this is A, this is what I'm looking for. Because that will start the conversation. You can come back to B and C and maybe other ideas that you might want to explore with them once you've got the relationship.
Great, thank you. So yeah, from people who really do know, because you've been on the other side of that phone call. And Adrian, this is a question for you, and this is from somebody who actually works in the event industry, or worked in the event industry, but they are aware that sadly this is an industry that's been really badly hit. So they're on furlough at the moment, but they're thinking about their options, and they're thinking, well, what are going to be some of the growth areas going forward? So if I am going to need to redirect my career energy, where should I put it? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's one that perhaps many people are going through at the moment, where their sectors are sort of that they've been working in, they're concerned they may not be coming back. I guess the good thing to do there is to think first of all about what's closely adjacent to the sector that you've worked with. So for example, I don't know what this particular person's role is, but for example, there may be opportunities with companies who are offering virtual events now. So whether that's an agency or there are several software companies that offer virtual event software, for example. Those may be interesting, and they're kind of adjacent sectors. If they're thinking about, okay, right, I need to, there's not an opportunity there. Perhaps I need to move sectors. First of all, start out looking at which sectors are growing. There are quite a few sectors which are, actually some are booming and some are doing pretty well and survived the pandemic pretty well. So, you can think about pharmaceutical companies, logistics companies, online retailers. The tech sector's held up pretty well. There's growth in aspects of the public sector. So there are areas which are growing. We're seeing job openings coming up every week still. So if you've got to move into one of those sectors, those companies may have events roles, or it may be a case of identifying your transferable skills. So start thinking about, if you're an events manager, you've got organizational skills, you're good at project management, you've got negotiation skills, you're used to managing customer experience, etc. You could start putting some of those keywords into a jobs website like Indeed, and see what pops out. And there may well be opportunities in some of those growth sectors, in which case you'll be confident that, you know, not only can you apply for that role, but also that's a sector which is going to be healthy for some time to come, which is something that people would want to do. So those have been my thoughts on it. Yeah.
Thank you, Adrian. So let's look at, so this is a heartfelt kind of bit of a sad email that came in actually, but I know it's one that echoes for a lot of people who find themselves in this situation. They are looking for a job at the moment. They are in their 50s and they are really worried that their age is going to be against them, and that they're going to find it harder and an employer isn't going to be looking at them. Colin, have you got any thoughts about, you know, that could help this person? But I know this is an issue for lots of people who worry about their age.
I think, yeah, there's a lot of redundancy out there, and I think people who are towards the end of their career, shall we say, feel it more strongly. There's not an awful lot you can do about your age. You can't lie about it on a CV or anything like that, but what you can do is you can make your CV focus on the last 10 years of what you've done. And that will give you a better opportunity in terms of anyone looking at your CV being openly ageist, if you see what I mean. It's more about putting your achievements down, concentrating on the last 10 years and seeing what you can bring. And that should get you to the stage whereby if you also then don't give any real hints and tips about dates on schools and universities, it removes that age question from your CV and can give you a better chance of being judged on your skills, on your knowledge and your experience. It's also worth saying that there are companies out there that have a policy of recruiting older people, and some companies want that experience. So yeah, it's tough, and my heart goes out to the individual. But yeah, there's things that you can do to improve your chances. And there are companies out there that prefer a few grey hairs and a bit more experience in their hires.
Yeah, thank you. So there's something about kind of downplaying the age thing, so being a little bit careful about that. Adrian, have you got any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think I'd agree with Colin. I'd say, you know, just this probably applies to CVs in general. You need to focus. It's not an autobiography, so you don't have to put down everything that you've ever done. There are certain clues, for example, like if you've got O levels instead of GCSEs, that immediately puts you in a bracket. So, and you probably don't need to do it after you've been working for 25 years. Yeah. You know, so think about that sort of thing. But also, yeah, show that what I was going to say was focus on the relevant skills. So look at the job advert, look at what they are asking for, and show how you can demonstrate that you have got the skills that they are asking for, and use the space on your CV to do that, rather than taking up time discussing, you know, skills and experience that you had maybe 15 or 20 years ago that are not so relevant to that particular role. So it will make your CV stand out anyway, the more relevant you make it to what the job, you know, that the employer is looking for.
Okay, thank you. And Jo?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Colin said actually, is that recruiting somebody with a wealth of experience can be hugely valuable to the mix in an organisation and in a team. So don't consider that necessarily as a weakness. For the hiring company, the fact that you may be, you know, in your 50s and could join the company and stay with them for the next 5 or 10 years could be really attractive to them, rather than necessarily thinking they're going to hire people who might be off every 12 months because they're at a very different stage of their career.
So there's kind of positive reasons why they might want to employ you, exactly because of the life stage that you're at.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Jane, look, you know, we've always worked with lots of people in their 50s, but there is a kind of a practical thing, but there is a psychological thing, I think, that goes on as well, isn't there, for individuals when they worry about the age issue?
Yeah, and I think because it can sometimes be helpful to think about, again, depersonalize it, take it away from you, and imagine what the recruiters might be thinking, or the employer, if there is a bias there. There may not be, as Jo was just saying, but if there is, what might they be thinking? They might be thinking that you're not up to date with knowledge or information about your sector. They might be thinking that you're not energetic enough. You're ready to slow down. Completely kind of that's not the case, but that can sometimes be a perception of recruiters when people are coming towards the ends of their career. So if you can get your mind into a place where you can overcome some of those perceptions that are out there. So when you're in the interview, walk in, let them hear that you're action oriented, let them see your energy, get your LinkedIn up to date so that they can see that you're doing everything and anything that you need to be in terms of the digital world, and look good. Get yourself a new outfit, or wear bright colours, or just get yourself feeling bright and energetic when you're in the room, so that you're doing everything you can to kind of quell those misconceptions.
So, and this is coming to the kind of final question for today, and that is somebody who's watched all of the career car series and they said, I've kind of listened to the advice, it's been really interesting and really helpful, and I'm thinking, do I need a career coach? But I'm still not entirely sure what you do, what is involved, and whether it's worth it. So, Jo, tell me, are you worth it, and what do you do?
Absolutely, we're worth it. What do? We mix asking you lots of probing questions. We listen a lot, and we listen particularly for the things that you are saying and not saying, so the things that you might be finding difficult. If you're absolutely clear and comfortable in your career path, you might not need a career coach. But if you've got any question about what could I do, what should I do, what do I want to do, and how do I optimize my path, it could be a really worthwhile objective interface just to help you clarify some things and articulate some things. So that's the coaching bit. But because we career coaches, and it's the only thing we work in, all of us are the other side of that 50 number, and we've been doing this for a long time. So we've got a wealth of experience that we bring about career path management, different industries, different functions, working with a wealth of different employers. So there's some really practical stuff and some very current stuff about CVs today, LinkedIn, interviewing, but we all ask questions for a living, and we listen really hard, and we help bring some clarity.
Thank you. And I think that's, again, really helpful, because it's like we know what we do, but actually articulating it to other people who kind of think, oh, what actually goes on. Jane, is there anything that you would like to add around that? Are you worth it?
I hope so. Yes, I am. I absolutely are. We absolutely are. I think so Jo used the word, the kind of objectivity, I think, and that's because we're career coaches, what we will often notice and observe in working with you is what others might experience when you are working with them or when you are being interviewed by them. So we're able to kind of feed that back to you to help your, let's say, performance interview, or to help you make a really good transition into your new organisation. So things that we hear about you, we'll be able to play back to you in terms of how they can be useful in the future. To help you get the new job, or to help you do a really good job once you are in that new role.
Yeah, I think that's important, isn't it? Because actually it can be very difficult to get honest feedback from people who kind of know and have got a good sense about what's needed and what's playing, and being able to deal with that sensitively and constructively, and helping people to transfer that learning so it plays better is important. And anything from you, Adrian, about kind of, what career coaches do?
So, yeah, definitely. I think we help people at lots of different levels. So, in terms of, we do boost your chances of success significantly. There's also a lot of just having somebody who is totally on your side when you're going through what can be a tough time. I don't think you can put a price on that. But also, maybe at a slightly different level, people often, when they come to us, realise that they've spent a lot of time at work, most of their their waking hours, you could say, over quite a few decades, but maybe have never really thought strategically about their career that much. You know, people tend to start off in their first job and then they do their second job that they were qualified because they'd done the first one. And, you know, they've got through maybe 20 years of their career without actually sort of sitting back that often and thinking, what is it that I really want to do? So I think what people get a lot of the time from working with us is that feeling that, okay, maybe for the first time, I've really done a proper think about my career and my options and what's going to suit me and, you know, what am I going to enjoy doing? And that, I think, is invaluable.
Thank you. So that's kind of as you say, it's kind of thinking strategically. It's not just about a job or any job. It's about thinking strategically what's right and having somebody on your side. Final thought from you, Colin, about kind of career coaching and what the value is and what's involved.
I've worked on the basis that feedback you get from clients that you've worked with that have come to us with a preconception of what it might be like, and then they've worked with us, and then towards the end of the programs they've said, you know what, this is what I've gained from it. A few standout quotes or comments from clients are, really helped with my confidence, the emotional side of career change, because the nuts and bolts of the process is pretty similar for each client, but their own individual journeys are very different. Different people need different supports, and it's giving that emotional support as well, which is sometimes overlooked. I'd like to kind of pick up on what Joe said about we don't do anything else. We do career coaching, you know, inch wide, mile deep. We know what we're talking about. We know the market, and we can help. And the other thought that I'd like to leave with people is that I was working with a client, we're talking about the coaching aspect. He said, well, everyone needs a coach. You know, coaching is for everybody, because if you look at the best sports people in the world, even those at the top of the game, they still have a coach to improve their chances and make things better. So I think it is something that's for everybody potentially, and there are benefits. But yeah, it is that little bit of, so what exactly do you do? And hopefully from this conversation has made it a little bit clearer.
Thank you. I think you're all worth it. Absolutely. And for anyone who wants to find out more, then there's lots of information on our website, www.personalcareermanagement.com. We put lots of info on there, and we're also really happy to talk to anyone who wants to find out more as well. So that kind of wraps up this Career Cast series for now. Again, I'd like to say a really big thank you to our team, Adrian Marsh, Colin Lloyd, Jane Garrard and Joe Thurman. Thank you so much. We hope it's been helpful. We will be back in another form. We've got some exciting plans in place for our next series. But from all of us, we wish you all the best and every success. Goodbye from us.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.